Hey, welcome to another week. It's been a pretty great week. I actually got all the papers recorded on time and corrected on time, so all of you see your grades. Um, do have one concern, and that is that everybody needs to be posting their first discussion post by Wednesday. There were only 4 people that got a full 100% this last week out of the 25, and 90% of that, of course, was just not getting that first post in. Some of you missed the other posts, but most of you got the 4 other posts, but most of you were posting that didn't get a full grade were posting on Sunday, and the other posts were on Sunday too. The whole idea of the discussion question is to have a discussion. And realistically, you can't have a discussion unless some time elapses. So we need to have that first post in on Wednesday so that people that want to get it done early because they're heading out of town for the weekend or something can do that. Also, people who just want to discuss the issue will be able to get online and do that. So do be aware of that. Let's do that. The first post is worth 50 points out of the 100, and if you don't get it in, it's worth only on time. It's only worth 25. So that is the very most important post. I put the most important emphasis on that one post there. So if I'm coming across clearly sounded and everything is good, you don't need to let me know, but let me know if it's bad, so that we can correct it before it goes too long. Looks like at this point we've got about 10 people. So I'm gonna give it just a little bit more time as we slowly have the users coming into the course, into the class. So, okay, yeah, we got, it's still showing 10, but I've got more and more people logging in, and 11 people have actually, Sir Sloppy, okay. We got 11 people that have issued attendance, but says only, 11 concurrent users up there. I'm looking at the dashboard to my left. So on my left over on this side. So the dashboard's over there. The chat window is over there. So Jackson, how did you come up with Sir Sloppy? Do you actually produce videos and there's a reason for Sir Sloppy? That's just a funny one. And Deadstock, I hope you're not a pet retailer. Deadstock is not good if you're a pet retailer. Okay, don't laugh too hard, Robert. I need you to be taking care of business over there. Okay, all right. Okay, well, we've got 11 folks and we've got 25 in the class. I'm not used to getting only 50%. So, Ronan. Kellen Williams' username is Ronan. That's interesting. That's a very interesting one, too. Yeah, I used to. It was an old name I had for years. Okay, cool. Yeah. Producing videos can be kind of like a love-hate relationship after a while. Some weeks it's going really good and you love it. Other weeks you're going, drudgery. Trudge through it and get one more done. That kind of thing. I produced the script for 2 different videos today to go on the tech channel, which I talk mostly about Microsoft Access, Word, and Excel. So, yeah, Ronan is your esports name. So I have it across all your social medias. Okay, very good. What esports do you do, Kellen? What I'd be curious to see what esports. I know that Lindenwood has an esports team, and are you on it? More of the colleges are getting involved. Overwatch. Okay, that's a fun one. I know. I know watching Robert play Overwatch a little bit for a while, and he went back to World of Warcraft. So
That was a fun game back in the day. They ruined it with a sequel, but we're not going to get into that.
ruined it with the sequel. Okay. Do you have the mic pulled over to you, Robert?
Yes, I do. If my volume's all right, let me know. If there's any issues, I'll turn it down.
Or turn it up? You're actually quite quiet over there. Okay, well, looks like all we're going to get right now is 12, so let's launch into it. The reading this last week was about blockchain being a disruptive technology. So first we're going to do is throw out a poll here and see what you all know about what disruptive technology means. Okay, good. Rochelle can hear you just fine, Robert. So let's put out that poll, Robert, and we'll see what we can know about what our audience knows so that we can get a good baseline to start with.
Unfortunately, the number of characters they give you here for the poll are rather limited. So the full question is, what does it mean when a technology is disruptive in a business sense?
Okay, so what does it mean when a technology is disruptive in a business sense? Okay, so technology that just causes the market to get all upset, like does a temper tantrum, I suppose. My cursor is, I need to see where there's my cursor. I can't open it, so could you read the rest of the answers there?
Sure, so the answers are technology that causes a major market upset.
Mm-hmm.
Second is early adopters have a major advantage. Third is tech that causes a business realignment. Or four, causes an economic recession.
Okay.
We have 8 votes so far.
8 votes, and 3 of them have been for technology that causes market upset. I guess it's determined by what you believe a market upset is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, let's get the rest of you in there. How many total votes do we have so far in?
We have 9 so far.
Okay, it looks like there's 4 or 5 of you more. Luke just joined us. Alex joined us. So glad to have you guys. Okay. Emily goes by Emmy. Or do you go by Emily?
Okay, there's 12 votes. Let's go ahead and end that.
Justin just joined us. So Justin and Luke and Alex, there's a poll up there. Justin, you may not have heard of original introduction for the poll, but the poll is to kind of know what you believe or understand about what disruption means. Okay, and Emily goes by Emily. That's cool. Okay. Okay. So how many votes do we have in now, Robert, with 15?
We have 13 votes.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and end it there. I don't think we're going to get those last couple.
Okay. If we're not going to get those last couple, then let's close it and see what it is. Okay. What is business disruption? Technology that causes market upset, 64%. Tech that causes realignment, 21%. Early adopters have a major advantage, 7%. And causes an economic recession, 7%. So we're kind of over the ballpark there. It's not usually technology usually doesn't cause a an economic recession. Usually it benefits the economy. You can do things better, cheaper, faster, and it benefits the economy. So that's definitely not the answer. Technology that causes market upset, I can see why the majority of you answered that one. The particular market that it's focused on could be upset by that, and I'll explain that in the presentation. Tech that causes realignment is a possible good answer. I think the best answer is that early adopters have a major business advantage. That's the key one, is that disruptive technology allows a business that adopts it to move forward faster, and they can do it better, cheaper than their competition, and thereby they can actually disrupt their competition, causing them to possibly make mistakes or not move forward as quickly and not catch up. That type of idea. So that's what kind of a market disruption or market upset would look like. So what I want to do is talk about the 5 major categories that are key in the blockchain being a disruptive technology. And so we saw this particular graphic in your book, and the author of the book said basically that transparency, immutability, security, consensus, and smart contracts were the 5 areas that blockchain could cause a disruptive influence in the market. So what I want to do is give examples of companies that have actually used each one of these to their advantage. Now, whether you would count that as being disruptive or not really remains to be seen. If it's enough of a business advantage to cause a disruption in the market is the big question. It still remains to be played out whether the money you spend on the blockchain technology and in its implementation, if that is worth the benefit that it gives you on the backside. The companies I'm going to illustrate today actually do believe it's created much more of an advantage than a disadvantage in the cost it took to deploy. But we'll continue to gather more information and more data as time goes on. When in the early days of enterprise resource planners, it would cost a ton of money to deploy an ERP system. It was a tremendous benefit when it finally got there, but it cost tens of millions of dollars for some companies to actually deploy an ERP, and many were scratching their heads wondering, oh, is this even of any value? Well, as the process of deploying an ERP is streamlined and you've got companies now like SAP and major players like that, it's become more apparent that the benefit outweighs the cost, because the costs have come down considerably. The amount of disruption to the business while deploying it has come down considerably. And so now it's just a given. If a company doesn't deploy an ERP system, they can't compete. It's that kind of thing that over time you may see the benefit. And I think we're in that very beginning where blockchain is very much in its infancy, to the point where you can't really tell whether it's going to have that kind of an impact or not, whether it's going to be disruptive in that way or not. But let's move forward and see how some of the companies that I'm going to highlight have perceived the benefit of blockchain. Okay, so when we talk about what is business disruption, I want to give you 5 examples of business disruption that have happened over time. And I'll say the first one. Have anybody seen a typewriter except in a museum or possibly a thrift store? They're actually disappearing from thrift stores, as I notice as I go to thrift stores occasionally. But word processors back in the 70s and 80s began to take over for typewriters. You had the printer, and then you had your word processor. And the nice thing about it is you could save your document, you could edit your document. It's much more convenient than a typewriter. In order to try to compete, typewriters started putting memory in the typewriter. You could actually save whole documents in a typewriter, so you could put the paper in and it would type out your whole document. So in the early 80s, when I was going to college for the first bit of my schooling, typewriters were in this memory mode where they would remember phrases or sentences or whole documents so that you could just retype them as you needed them, trying to stave off this evil computer that was starting to appear on desktops. Well, the fact that you don't see typewriters around anymore is a testament to the fact that computers won out that battle. But that is very definitely, to those people like Corona and companies that built typewriters, it was a very disruptive technology, because if they didn't adjust and do something different, they were put out of business. There weren't typewriters to be sold anymore. After a while, landline communications were replaced by cell phones. When I was growing up, we had a telephone in the house, and frankly, AT&T was the only game in town. They had a monopoly, a government protected monopoly. They were the only ones that could do telephone lines. Well, when they put one in your house, if you had more than one telephone on any given wall, let's say you wanted to have one in your living room and one in your kitchen area, you had to pay them double. You had to pay for 2 lines in order to have those available. And there were all kinds of scammers that sold you black market telephones so that you could hook up your own landline, and if you're real creative, you could run your own phone lines, which weren't very complicated, actually. And when I was still a youth, whenever I'd pick up the phone, we had to make sure that the person who we shared the telephone line with down the street wasn't on the phone before we could make a call, because it was just like Susie picking up the other phone in the other room. It was somebody in the house 2 doors down that was picking up the phone, and we could listen to their phone calls if we were real stealthy about it, but that's not fair. Anyway, so weird, strange stuff. And how far it's come to today that, we could have, wireless handsets, and then that was way cool, but it was still a landline, and eventually cell phones. So that was very disruptive. You don't find dial phones, you don't find touch tone phones anymore. You just have these little box things that we call cell phones. So how about the movie theater versus a VCR tape versus a Blu-ray and a Blu-ray player versus streaming? That market has just moved forward with lightning speed. Now, just to show you my age, I went to the theater to see the opening day, whatever, of Star Wars Episode 4 when it first came out. Well, that was in 1978, and the only place you could see it was in the movie theater. VCRs had not yet been invented. Shortly after I was married, VCRs became invented, and oh gosh, they were expensive things, $200 or $300 to get a cheap one. And then their quality was really suspect anyway. And then, of course, Blu-ray came along, and then now, you don't get Blu-ray discs anymore. And we see companies such as Blockbuster, who is in the VCR rental business, that didn't adapt fast enough and were just eventually squashed by Netflix, who swiftly made it from Blu-ray mailing to people to streaming, and now they've discontinued their mailing service for Blu-rays. So that market has evolved very, very quickly. So the movie theaters, they're struggling today. They really are. They've got to do things like serve you food at your table while you're watching the movie, or various other things to make it an experience rather than just going to the theater and shelling out $20 to go see a movie. And Jeffrey says, this one upsets me. I loved going to the theater as a kid. I still try to go once a week. Yeah, even if all the movies are bad. Yeah, that's so true, so true. I like the movie theater experience. I really do. There's nothing better than to be in a packed house watching an exciting adventure movie and everybody reacts to it. And it's just the ambiance is totally different than sitting in front of your 45-inch television screen and enjoying a movie.
So what's interesting with some of these technologies, like the typewriters were completely eclipsed by computer word processors. You don't find typewriters anymore. They're a dead technology. Landlines, you still find them like right here where we are. It's the cell phone. It's a dead area. You can't get cell reception. So we still have a landline here.
Well, we have a VoIP.
We have a VoIP phone. You're right. Not even a landline phone, a VoIP phone.
Yeah.
But then movie theaters still exist because they provide an experience that you don't get with a Blu-ray player or with streaming. And so there's like two different classifications of technologies here. There's the ones that just disappear because they are superseded by something completely better, and there's some here which, like Jeffrey said, I like the movie theater. They're great, but it's so much easier just to stream at home.
Yeah. So much easier. Let's go ahead and just wait till it comes out on Blu-ray or on streaming. Yeah, Rochelle says movies are ridiculously expensive. Yes, I prefer to wait until it comes out and then just buy it since I will own it. And that's true too. I've got a Vudu account where I can pass the Vudu account to my kids after I'm done using it. And it's definitely true. I can go re-watch it anytime I want to. It was that way. I've got a huge Blu-ray collection. And so what do you do with all your Blu-rays? I mean, they're gathering dust in my cupboard because I can either find them on, Prime or Netflix or any one of a number of services. Unless it's something like Top Gun Maverick. Yes. Agree with you there 100%. 100%. Good. Okay, so let's go. How about steam engines versus diesel locomotives? We like the nostalgia of seeing an old steam engine, but the diesel locomotives are much more efficient and effective. Oppenheimer was fantastic in the theaters. Yep. I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet, though. In the cinema has its own atmosphere, and in my opinion, once in a while, it's worth spending the money. Yeah, exactly. And on a special occasion, my wife and I'll put out the money and go for a date and watch a movie. But we'll do it in the theater seating. What do they call it? Lounge seating, so that we can enjoy the experience side of it. Hi, Tyler. See that you're here. That's good. Okay, last one I'm going to share with you is trains versus automobiles versus airplanes. Interesting story about trains. Trains transported people more than they transported cargo in the early days. They had to be reinvented somewhat as automobiles took over and roads started to replace rail to transport people. In fact, today you very seldom get a chance to ride on a train, or if you do, it takes longer and costs twice as much as hopping on an airplane and just going, or even getting in your car. So trains, if you go for your MBA, you're in a particular business regimen, you'll hear a lot about the trains. People who manage trains should have realized they were in the transportation business and not necessarily just in the train business. Had they had that different attitude, they might have invested in automobiles and they might have had an airplane company and realized that transport was their main objective. Okay, Gavin says, love the theater as well. Better than at home, but but it is a little expensive. Well, yeah, exactly. It can be a $50 hit to the budget whenever you go to just a date with two people. Like watching movies in my home much better also. With how good residential sound bars are, yes, you can get some of the same experience in the as the Atmos systems. What's an Atmos system? Is that the system they have in a theater?
Dolby Atmos, yeah.
Oh, okay. Dolby. Yeah, Dolby Digital. That was a big innovation at one point, and it was only in theaters for a very long time. Okay, so that's what disruptive really means. We're going to talk about businesses who had change and had to adapt, either adapt or die. Go ahead, Robert.
I think you had one more.
Do I have one more? Oh, yes. The one that you added. I forgot about that. We've got artificial intelligence that is impacting artists and voice actors and writers now. And it remains to be seen how much of an impact it's going to have in those areas. I know the Artists Guild, Screenwriters Guild and Actors Guild, that both were just up in arms in their last strike about what are we going to do with AI? How much are we going to let AI encumber or come into our business? And I have to say that no matter how hard they try, technology will impact your business if it's if it's cheaper, faster to use the new technology than it is to use the old. And so the artists have to just learn how to adapt, or you just won't be there anymore. The more you complain, the less people are going to want to have you around. And frankly, you can complain a lot about artificial intelligence. In fact, a lot of people are. But I don't think it's going away. That's for sure. Okay, so let's talk about transparency. We're going to talk about the five different disruptors here. And so transparency, we talk about Home Depot. And they have a case study out there. And their focus for deploying blockchain was to help with their supply chain. And the particular area that they needed help with is when a vendor ships this number of widgets and Home Depot receives that number of widgets, where did the discrepancy happen? Was it a receiving problem? Was it a sending or shipping problem? Was it a problem that somebody got sticky fingers in the middle somewhere? And so they literally deployed blockchain so that they could have end-to-end visibility from shipment to shipping, transport to the doors at Home Depot. I'm sliding over to a comment by Luke. He says, I mainly go to movies with friends. And that can get expensive unless you're going Dutch, but I like watching movies at home much better. Okay. Also, how good residential soundbars are, get the same experience. And then love how AI made it to the list at the end. It tied it all together. Yeah, because that's kind of a more modern one that you're experiencing today. Good comment, Justin. Good comment. So Home Depot has tried to deal with their vendor disputes in varieties of different ways. But what was happening is it was taking a very long time to resolve any of the disputes, simply because they had to go through all the paperwork. They had to make phone contact with the various people along the way. And many times, if you wanted to obfuscate some dishonesty along the way, there was no way to really catch it, because you had to have people that were truthful along the way. So what the IBM blockchain then is, they were able to see real-time visibility, and if a variance occurs at any stopping point in the supply chain, they could see what was happening. So they could see, hey, between point A and point B, this intermediary point, there was a delta here. Let's go figure out what happened between those 2 points, and they could quickly narrow it down. So it has helped them to quickly identify where the problem began, so that they can then negotiate with the suppliers or other people in the supply chain to handle the situation. So visibility in that case was the big thing for them. Okay, so immutability, Walmart and blockchain, the new era of supply chain management. So Walmart is featured here. Walmart, it says, the idea here is that all data has already been validated and recorded on the blockchain and can't be changed. So you don't have somebody going in and trying to cover up their tracks. Once it's been recorded, it's just there, and that has helped them there. So why is that important? Why is the immutability important? Their particular blockchain is in the food industry, by the way. Just in case you don't know this about Walmart, their produce department is based on blockchain. It's written by IBM again, and IBM has the Food Trust blockchain. And we've identified several different vendors and retailers that are on the Food Trust blockchain. So it's a robust and viable blockchain that's being used by many around the country. So it says, while some of the issues in the food system can be attributed to the greed and bad practices of individual businesses, there's no denying that the whole food supply chain is terribly inefficient. A food traceability system based on blockchain technology helps significantly reduce waste and increase the efficiency of supply chains. All the data, including the production date, how long it took for the product to reach the shelves, and when and if it was finally sold, how it was stored, all of that's recorded in the blockchain. it allows them to see womb to tomb from farmer to shelves how that produce has gone and whether or not it was taken care of well along the way, whether or not it, when it got there, was able to get on the shelves quickly enough to not spoil before they pulled it from the shelves and tossed it. Certain amount of the cost of all the produce we buy is just paying for the fact that some produce doesn't make it into your sales basket and out the door. So it's incredibly important as they collect this data that they can analyze it. And before blockchain, they had literally no way to do that. There was no way that they could take an SAP supply chain system and require a farmer to implement SAP and so they could record information and send it to Walmart. It was just not viable. But they can easily put a mobile app on their phone and quickly record all their shipments going outbound to Walmart, when it left, when it was picked, what farm it came from. And this became particularly important in a time when the romaine lettuce was a problem. They found E. coli bacteria on some romaine lettuce. All they knew was that it came from California. The problem with coming from California was that there's a lot of farms in California. And so they basically had to shut down all the farms in California. All those farms had to throw away all of their remaining stock. They had to then test, investigate, but because they could not do it all quickly enough, that it caused over $10 million in losses just to the farmers, and basically cleared the store shelves of romaine lettuce for many months until they finally zeroed in on the particular farm that it was a problem and were able to eradicate the problem. So a database like this, a blockchain data structure like this, allows them very quickly to get back to where the problem was, investigate it, and resolve it. So that's why it's important. Let's talk a little bit now about security. A company called Orenda Security created an app called Shopin. Now, Shopin was created to compete with Amazon and provide empowerment to shoppers. Now, it is a universal shopping profile that you can log into this particular app, and it allows retailers to offer a higher quality of products when the user decides to provide the retailers with access to their data. Okay, so here you've empowered the buyer, the shopper, with an app that says, yes, you retailer have the privilege of seeing my buying data when I buy with you. And so Shopin incorporates artificial intelligence to analyze the retailer's accumulation of all that shopper's data, and the features create a more sustainable retail economy, because retailers grow stronger with accessing knowledge, and consumers own and have complete control over their data. And this kind of brings up a story. My grandfather passed away quite a long time ago, but my grandfather told a story of how he put a different middle initial on his response to an advertiser so that he could know if that particular vendor, advertiser, whoever he bought from, was selling his name on a mailing list so that other people could direct mail to him. Now, this was back in the days of snail mail and actually going to your mailbox and getting a piece of mail. But he would put a different initial on it, and he was so what do you call it? He was so bothered by it that he literally wrote it in a book which retailer or which vendor he would buy from and which middle initial he used, so he could track it down to that vendor and send them a nasty letter and get his name removed from their mailing list so that they wouldn't be sold ever again. And then he moved his business to somewhere else. So, that's kind of the modern day equivalent of changing your email or having a junk email address so that you can, get rid of somebody if they don't treat you right. So Orenda Security has done that, and security really makes a difference to a lot of people. Consensus methods, okay? Now, consensus means that we're going to validate the data, okay? And so far, we're going back to the Home Depot. We started with the Home Depot. We're coming back to them here. The feedback of their program of being able to track the supply chain and track where these errors come has really helped them create stronger relationships with their good vendors. It's also helped them to identify their not so good vendors and then, weed them out and decide not to do business with them, or provide some remedial help to that vendor if all they're doing is struggling with some of their quality issues and making sure that the right number of widgets were packed in a box and made sure that they were sent. So here you've got a situation where information fixes problems, and when enough problems are fixed, if you have a good relationship beginning to build, you can actually build even further on that good relationship by having good data from both ends of the spectrum. Okay. Smart contracts. Well, when you think of smart contracts, you think of distributed finance. They have smart contracts that do things with your money, and when you're investing in a distributed finance app, you expect the smart contracts to do certain things. Well, smart contracts in the private industry is like an insurance contract, and here Nationwide Insurance has adopted blockchain. They're a well-established incumbent, but they have embraced blockchain technology. So the company partnered with RiskBlock Alliance and was the first insurer to adopt that blockchain platform for smart contract purposes. So their blockchain enables customers to action claims by verifying their losses via law enforcement reports. In other words, they could tie those electronic reports together and trigger very quick payouts. And yes, you kind of wondered how did Nationwide, become as good and strong as they have, and it's literally through, in this case, a blockchain application. So you've got good information, and good information breeds better relationships. You've got better security. You've got visibility from beginning to end. And we could go on with example after example after example. I pulled a few. I've got a lot of examples in my blockchain channel of many other businesses who have implemented blockchain. So you could go look at those. And so hopefully, if you have any questions about what we've talked about, please post them in the chat. I'm going to ask for a 2-minute break to rest my throat, get a drink, and pull up the next presentation, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes, okay? Alrighty. All right. Got a quick drink, and now I'm, ready to go for another 20 minutes here. A little bit of a tongue-in-cheek. The Misinformed Journalist of the Week award goes to, and we'll talk about that. Rochelle posted actually a very good article, but it was really an odd article in the respect that he had a very bad, well, let's just show it to you. And I need to get my cursor over there. Okay, there we go. Why blockchain falls short in supply chain management. Here's why. I mean, Forbes used to be a very well-respected journalistic entity, okay? And here you've got a person in the name of Dmitry Mishunin. I hadn't tried pronouncing that out loud. Dmitry here. He's on the Forbes Council, and obviously he's written this. You have to have a membership, a fee-based membership, in order to see it, although you see 2 or 3 articles free before they start trying to charge you. But this article was interesting in the respect that he tells a lot of positive things, and then I'll tell you why he gets the Misinformed Journalist of the Week award, because, yes?
Poll.
What?
Poll.
Hey, how about if we do a poll? Yeah, we talked about a poll. Can you please explain exactly how we're supposed to do the article? Didn't do so hot on the first one. Okay. Are you referring to posting on Wednesday and then responding to 4 students on, before the next Sunday? So if you could answer that question, I'll be glad to continue.
So while we're waiting for that, the poll is open.
Okay.
How can we judge a news article? And the 4 possible answers are: if they're talking, they're lying, or trust sources like Wall Street Journal or Forbes. Third one is trust but verify when possible, and the last one is always trust journalists.
Yeah, after all, they're infallible.
Well, so far I'm liking the results.
Walter Cronkite, I mean, he was a great guy.
Yeah.
Do you even know who he is? Back in the days of real journalism.
Back in the days when you had no opposition voice to know whether they're lying or not.
That's true. And you tried to say that quietly, although I'm sure they all heard. Okay, let's get to a question at hand. I'm not quite sure where, is it a technical error or what, but you need to look up an article about blockchain being used in the business sense. I did have more cryptocurrency articles than I would have wished, but I didn't really say that until Wednesday when we talked in our live stream. So we'll give everybody a bye for that. But you need to find an article and write 250 word summary for everybody else to read, and then post the link to the article for the discussion question at hand. And it's the same every single week except for the very final week, so don't get caught there. The very final week, you just get to vote on your favorite article during the previous 7 weeks. But by Wednesday, post the article and post the 250-word summary of the article so that everybody doesn't have to go actually read the whole article. And then, before Sunday comes, we have a discussion, and you respond and reply, ask more questions of the other people, other students in the class. So the requirement is post the initial post by Wednesday. It's worth half the grade. The next requirement is to post to 4 other students before the end of Sunday, basically end of week. And once you post to 4 other students, they need to be substantive, and they need to, promote the discussion going forward, ask other questions, make a comment concerning that's valuable to other people. It's like you were sitting in a class looking straight eye to eye with your fellow students. You want to have that kind of an experience with your replies so that the discussion moves forward. Now, the grading, of course, then is 50% for that first post, is 12.5 points for each of the 4 posts to students at the end. So just log in on Monday. See, it opens up on Monday morning at 12:01 a.m. Sunday night, if you want to call it that. 12:01 in the morning on Monday. It opens up. You can post your article right then, or have it ready to post and just log in on Monday and get it posted, or post it by Wednesday. But anyway, get that first post in, and then you get to read the other summaries and respond to 4 of those other folks, okay? So what we want to do is continue the education going forward of different things that other students are finding. This is the way we can keep up with the industry rather than having to rely on the book, which basically teaches you the nuts and bolts, is about all it does. Seeing it be applied is the important part. So, okay, so what do we have for answers, Robert? Trust but verify if possible. Looks like it got 77%, so let's close it. And
Yep.
76%. That is the answer I would give, is, trust but verify if it's possible. That's the politician answer. The second one, if they're talking, they're lying. Trust sources like Wall Street Journal or Forbes. I don't trust them anymore, unfortunately. Always trust journalists? No. There's too many journalists that basically, you used to turn to the opinion page to get opinions. The rest of the newspaper was just hard facts. It's the why, what, where, and when. And it used to be just the why, what, why, where, and when. Okay, the 5 whys. So when I was early in school, that's what they taught you. You literally could trust that they were just giving you facts. Today, you don't get just the facts. You get this person's opinion, or if you log into a certain newspaper, you get the editor's bias on which articles they're willing to talk about, and they ignore the rest of the world if they don't agree with what's going on there. We have, Trump is probably the most polarizing figure out there in politics that's ever existed, and you literally have people on one side of the camp that think should be vilified as this demon, and you have people on the other side that says he was the best president we've ever had. The truth would probably be somewhere in the middle, obviously, but that's what you're getting from the news media today, unfortunately. So here we go with this guy. I've only got 12 minutes to finish. So Dmitry Mashunin was the founder and CEO of a company called HashX Blockchain Security. Okay, so he should know what he's talking about, right? Well, let's look at a little bit deeper. Let's get under the hood a little bit. And where did my screen go? Okay. First off, he does security audits for smart contracts. And if we read a little closer here, he says comprehensive risk analysis or assessment from an expert team with 6+ years experience. 6+ years experience? Okay. I have grandchildren that are older than 6 years, so not much experience as far as I'm concerned. In distributed finance, okay, so he talks about a wide variety of smart contracts from tokens to NFTs. Okay, he's doing audits in the distributed finance area, and he's crossed over to try to tell you that blockchains trying to support supply chain are bad. That's the first thing I suspect. So going to the next one here. Okay. He teaches about that, but he's teaching like-minded distributed finance enthusiasts. So his focus is definitely on distributed finance, which is definitely on the cryptocurrency side of the house. And then we go to this next one, smart contract development. So ERC20 coins, RFI, and NFTs, non-fungible tokens, on the most popular blockchains. Well, and he doesn't describe which the most popular ones. If you dig into his website, he does actually tell some of the blockchains he's worked with. But so here we've got somebody that's commenting on business blockchains in the supply chain area, and this guy doesn't get out of his niche in the distributed finance cryptocurrency area, but he's crossing over to talk about business blockchains. So at this point, I'm saying he has 6+ years experience, which is pretty light anyway, but it's all in the DeFi or distributed finance area. So at the outset, I'm a little bit frustrated because he's talking about something he probably doesn't have the expertise or the depth for. So he says in 2016, Walmart began development of a solution for tracing grocery products using blockchain. Along with IBM, the company launched the Walmart Food Traceability Initiative, which was based on the Food Trust blockchain by IBM. For that to function, suppliers had to include information about each purchase from farmers or manufacturers in the blockchain. Thanks to technology, what used to take hours or even days to track and trace the food, in this case, retailers could check the origin of the products quickly. A positive, okay? So we've got a positive statement there, okay? Walmart Canada introduced a blockchain to solve longstanding issues with invoices and payments for freight carriers. They had success doing that. They partnered with DLT Labs in that second paragraph to develop a solution based on distributed ledger technology. Deemed it a success, stating that 1% of invoices have been disputed now compared to 70% before the implementation of blockchain. I would say that's another positive. Okay, more than Walmart. Walmart may be the biggest, but it's not the only one. And he says various companies from diamond sellers to fish manufacturers distributed blockchains, enabled goods, and most of them follow the largest retailers' experience. And there's an oil company, the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, even implemented a similar IBM-designed tracing system to monitor and manage oil and gas supplies. So another positive. He's talking good things about all these blockchains. So what could he say that was bad? Why the title that says that blockchains and supply chain are bad? Okay, so here comes the but. He's got two buts here. First of all, the question of public versus private blockchain is raised. Okay, so what has he got against private blockchains? Most of the aforementioned solutions work on a private ledger, i.e., it is accessible and changeable by its users only. Okay, it's updatable by the users because they put data into it. I don't know of very many users that have ever had the privilege of seeing a business's supply chain data. That is proprietary data that no customer would ever have access to. You don't, if you're a Walmart, you don't want to know where, the widgets are coming from. You don't want them to know who the distributors are that sell to Walmart. That's just not something. So it says, but a customer can't necessarily do the same. In other words, see the supply chain due to a lack of knowledge, others due to a lack of access. Well, frankly, they shouldn't have access, and they shouldn't have the knowledge. So, in other words, this is a non-starter as far as a complaint goes. He does raise another issue aside from access. We're facing another issue. Oh gosh, this one sounds big. Public blockchain has thousands of validators. Okay, I don't know what a validator is. I haven't seen that term used in blockchain at all. While a private blockchain has only a few, it depends on the blockchain. Transparency for everyone is one of the fundamental principles of blockchain, and authenticity of any information on a private blockchain remains questionable? Okay, for one, what he is calling a validator is the consensus process. In distributed finance, in cryptocurrency, as well as any private blockchain, all the smart contracts do, or the code in the blockchain does, is make sure that the transaction is complete. It doesn't validate that the information is of any authenticity or accuracy. Garbage in, garbage out, it's going to be the same no matter what. In DeFi, you have the guarantee that they can only buy and sell with currencies, and they're only going to transact currencies. In a blockchain, you've got a lot of other information going in, And there is no computer system that can make sure that Fred puts in the right quantity or doesn't decide he's going to kind of put his thumb on the scales a little bit and give himself the advantage by the information he puts in there. It's just not going to happen. In other words, just because blockchain doesn't solve world hunger doesn't mean that we can't use it to our advantage. So here we go. Watch out for the authors that you send in. Go ahead and read into their objections or read into their compliments to make sure that you see through what they're trying to say. In other words, in this case, the guy was out of his depth. He should never have been talking about supply chain issues. He never should have been talking about blockchain for business, anything other than distributed finance where he has the experience. And as so, he came out looking embarrassed. And unfortunately, he embarrasses Forbes in the same way. So we've had a great week. Robert, why don't you call for attendance at the end? And I will still be looking at the chat until the very end. So if you have any questions, I'll keep answering those questions on the screen until we get to the top of the hour. Otherwise, have a great week and, be safe. I don't know what it's like up in St. Louis. Down here in Arkansas, in the middle of Arkansas, we had 4 inches of snow, which is not normal. This morning we woke up to 2 degrees outside. And from what I understand, St. Louis was worse than that. Brr. I'll be glad to see it warm up. I like summers. So hopefully be safe, drive carefully, and make sure you come back next week. Okay? So, Morgan. I hadn't seen Morgan's name yet. All right. Still looking for questions if you happen to have any. So, we don't have to do the week 2 class hour assignment if we attended the stream. That is correct, Luke. If you've attended here, I'm going to mark your attendance based on the fact that you've told me you're here. You don't have to go in and do the summary part. The summary is only there if you couldn't make it. You were sick or had a work obligation you had to attend to, whatever. It says we don't. Wanted to make sure so you don't lose credit. That's a good thing, Luke. Pretty good. Yes. No matter how many times I say that, I still have people doing the summary all the way to the end, even though they attend. I don't know why that happens, but you don't have to. Save yourself some time and put it into other classes or better assignments for this class, either one. So, good question, Luke. Thank you for asking that for everyone. And Tyler, I missed seeing him at the beginning. So we ended up with 17 people here. Okay, good. What was the discussion question about this week again? I don't remember it off the top of my head, and even though it looks like I'm right in front of you, I'm not right at my computer, so I can't take a quick look at it. Anybody that wants to go look at that and put it in the chat, we can discuss it real quick before we go. Wait a minute, this class doesn't have a discussion question. It has a current events post. I got rid of the discussion questions because I don't like them. It's just a include in your summary what impressed you about this article. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Privacy on the blockchain, but one of the disruptive elements are transparency. What's the big deal about this? Yeah. The big deal about privacy on the blockchain, a lot of times you talk about privacy when you talk about cryptocurrencies and people wanting their transactions to be private. In other words, it's like people who like to carry cash in their wallet and transact directly there. They have total privacy who they're going to transact or buy from. The government does not like you spending money without them knowing what you're spending it on. They much prefer to use your debit card, where they can subpoena the bank and get a list of all your transactions. They would much rather have a paper trail or electronic trail of the transactions that you've made. And that's sad, but it's a reality. If you want true privacy, you really have to use cash out of your wallet. Now, understand, the world is trying to squash cryptocurrencies, period. They would rather they not exist. The World Economic Forum has openly said that cryptocurrencies are a threat to the current financial system. What it is a threat to their ability to control you and to, know what you're doing. So they feel threatened. I'm sorry, but they're just going to have to feel threatened as far as I'm concerned, but they're going to figure out a way around it. So, okay, makes sense. Hey, we'll see you all again next week, and be safe, and see you again.